According to the latest reports around the Las Vegas Raiders, the Silver and Black want one of these quarterbacks. Aaron Rodgers, Lamar Jackson, Jimmy Garoppolo. Sound off in the comments section who you want the Raiders QB to be this upcoming season. Raider Nation, what's going on? You're watching the Raiders Report, and today's show is presented by Roan. If you're looking for a really comfortable shirt that you can wear when you're out grabbing a drink with the boys or on date night with your woman, hey, go to roan.com/chatsports. That link's going to be available for you guys down in the comments and in the description of today's video. So what's going to be happening here on the Raiders Report is the latest must-see rumors around what the Silver and Black's plan is potentially at the quarterback position. First, we're going to kick it off here around Aaron Rodgers because according to Peter King, the Raiders are very unlikely to trade for the Green Bay Packers quarterback. And the reason is, according to King and many people out there, that Mark Davis does not want or that he can't throw $60 million at Aaron Rodgers. So now you think about the whole Aaron Rodgers report. Cool. Now let's move in the direction of Lamar Jackson because realistically, you got two people who combined have 5 NFL MVPs, and it sounds like nobody is interested in either one of these guys, which I do think is a little bit peculiar to me, especially when it comes to Jackson. But the latest report around Lamar is that the Raiders are very unlikely, again, to pursue him. And the reason is that Jackson is looking for a 5-year, $230 million fully guaranteed contract. The reason why those numbers are being thrown out there is because when the Cleveland Browns gave Watson his deal, it was $230 fully guaranteed. And if you're Lamar Jackson, you're looking at Watson, you're like, with all the bullshit that he had going on around him, I am worth at least $230 million. When I hear the reports around Rodgers, when I hear the report around Lamar Jackson, the word that every single beat writer, every single insider is throwing out there is the word unlikely. Let's get one thing straight. The word unlikely, that doesn't mean that it's impossible. It means that they personally don't think that it's very likely that's going to happen. What does that mean from a beat reporter, from an NFL insider standpoint? That simply means that that is an educated guess. I give educated guesses. A lot of Raiders YouTubers give educated guesses. Random people on Twitter give educated guesses. Y'all give educated guesses. So can we please stop treating these reports like it is just a cold hard fact etched in stone? They are just educated guesses. Now, if you want more Raiders news, more Raiders rumors, free videos around the Silver and Black, then hit that subscribe button. We got you covered here on the Raiders Report. You know, when I also hear the word unlikely, I also think of the NFL because think about how many times every single offseason somebody says, that's never going to happen. That is unlikely to happen. Khalil Mack trade, never going to happen. The Russell Wilson trade, very unlikely. Deshaun Watson's never going to get traded. The Raiders will never trade for Devontae Adams. When I hear unlikely, all I think of is honestly is, so you're saying there's a chance. And to honestly give yourself a better chance, especially if you're a single guy out there, I do think Roan really has elevated my wardrobe, and I'm one of those people that if I look good, I feel good. So if you need to feel good, I think Roan can help you out in this department. Roan helps you get ready for any occasion with the Commuter Collection, which offers the world's most comfortable pants, dress shirts, quarter zips, and polos. You never have to worry about what to wear when you have the Roan Commuter Collection. With Gold Fusion anti-odor technology, you'll be smelling fresh and clean all day. And on top of that, Roan is 100% machine washable, so you can ditch the dry cleaner altogether. The Commuter Collection can get you through any workday and straight into whatever comes next. Head to roan.com/chatsports and use promo code chatsports to save 20% off your entire order. That's 20% off your entire order when you head to RHONE.com/chatsports and use code chatsports. You're going to be able to find your corner office somewhere. I know that we party hard here on the Raiders Report, but there's a lot of times I'll do a show, and then like I did yesterday, Alex said, hey, we got dinner plans. Don't be late. I already have what I'm wearing, so it's a really simple process. They're really comfortable shirts. They look great, and like they said earlier, you can machine wash them. That is as simple as it possibly gets, which is what I love with these shirts. Now, let's keep rolling here with these latest rumors around Rodgers with Lamar Jackson. I will continue to just roll my eyes when I hear these reports that, Mark Davis is cash poor. And if anybody out there thinks that any NFL owner is poor, it's a stupid thing. Is offering a quarterback over $200 million a lot of money? Yes. Why? Because realistically, there's not many people in the world that have $200 million in their bank. I get how that works. But just think about how all the freaking time we hear all these different reports of Mark Davis is poor. He's not poor. Let's just get that out of the way. And, I saw my guy, Raider Cody. He was on Twitter still throwing around the Mark Davis doesn't have money narrative. It's a yawn. It's a yawn to me because it's an excuse. When I hear the Mark Davis doesn't have money to pay an NFL quarterback, I laugh out loud. Just the same way when people are like, the team, Raiders, any NFL team, but they don't have the salary cap space. You can make it happen. These guys are freaking billionaires. If they want to make something happen, they can make it happen. Let's be real for a sec. So to me, when I continue to think about all these narratives out there, all right, well, if the Raiders don't want to go out and get Rodgers, if they don't want to go out and get Lamar Jackson, they better have a plan because you moved on from Derek Carr. I think moving on from Derek Carr was the right move to do, but you better have a backup plan. So when I think of Las Vegas, right, they wouldn't make a move for Rodgers or Jackson. It's not because of the money. To me, it's because they want to build in the draft. When you think about those really great New England Patriots teams, yes, you had Tom Brady, but they also did, what did they do? They built in the draft. They built what they thought was the best thing possible for the locker room, and they built from the ground up. If you want to be able to build a house, you need a solid foundation, and I do think that solid foundation starts in the NFL draft, which is what Ziegler and Josh McDaniels are trying to do. However, though, right? It's not always that NFL MVPs are just available. If the Raiders want to build through the draft, does that mean, though, that they're not going to trade up? Because the more and more reports that come out around these young quarterbacks like CJ Stroud, Anthony Richardson, Bryce Young, I personally think if you want to be able to land one of those dudes, you got to trade up to number 3. So then no matter what, you're giving up draft capital to take a quarterback in the draft. So if they won't trade up, what does that mean that the Raiders are going to do in free agency? What does it mean that they're going to do in the NFL draft? Because obviously, free agency's first, and if you don't have a quarterback going into the draft, well, then you're going to get more aggressive, and then you could potentially have to trade up. There's a lot of different scenarios. The more and more I think, and I'm just going to be real, I had a buddy of mine text me today, and he goes, it's going to be Jimmy Garoppolo, and I'm like, dude, don't tell me that. That's just not what I can hear. More reports came out today that the Raiders, the most likely quarterback that they would have under center in free agency is in fact going to be Jimmy Garoppolo. So I hear a report like that, and I see, okay, if they're not interested in Lamar, if they're not interested in Aaron Rodgers, I also heard that they're not that confident in Jarrett Stidham as being that everyday starter and that they want to have someone that they're a little bit more relied on. So the person that gets thrown out there a lot is Jimmy G. So when I hear all these plans out there, like, to me, if the Raiders don't want to trade for Rodgers, if they don't want to trade for Lamar Jackson, if they really truly want to be able to build through the draft and they don't want to have to give up any capital whatsoever, to me the most logical explanation and the most best educated guess I can give you is, to me then, I believe that the Raiders are going to say, okay, we're going to sign Jimmy Garoppolo in free agency. Cool, we don't have to give up any draft compensation. You take a quarterback at number 7 because you don't want to trade up. Or if your quarterback's not there at 7, well, then you're going to take a guy potentially at number 38. Or you take a QB a little bit later like a lot of those other New England regimes did. And then what do? You build your team through the draft. The reason why I hate that plan is not because I want to give up all this draft capital. I think building the team through the draft is the right thing to do, and I do think taking a quarterback at number 7, if your guy is there, is the smart thing. Here's the issue, though. When you look at some of the deals that have already gone down this offseason, if Derek Carr is making $37.5 million, if Daniel Jones is getting $40 million, Garoppolo, he's not getting anything less than 25. And in fact, if I'm Garoppolo and I'm his agent, I'm saying, well, yeah, I've been injured. Cool. But my numbers from a win standpoint are better than Derek Carr. My numbers from an NFL starting quarterback standpoint, I threw 16 touchdowns last season and I barely played. Daniel Jones threw 15 and he got 40 mil. If I'm Garoppolo, I want at least, and I mean at least 30. So for me, I've already said I'm not paying him over 15. That just tells you I don't like that plan. So if you're giving Garoppolo $25 million per year, it depends how they structure it in the first year, of course. But if I say structure it in the first year, that means Garoppolo is going to be on the team for multiple years, which means you're paying a quarterback multiple seasons that much. Or you give him a 1 year at 25, 30 mil, you're still taking up a lot of money, and right now the Raiders have $39.1 million in salary cap space. I anticipate that they move on from a few other guys, create a little extra cap room, but if you give that much money to Jimmy G, then you're not going to have as much money to be able to spend on the defense, on some of those other holes that we know that this team deep down has. So if you're telling me, are the Raiders better or worse, Derek Carr, Jimmy Garoppolo, if you're telling me it's Jimmy Garoppolo and I don't really get to spend at anything in free agency, we're moving nowhere, and I don't want to move nowhere. We need to be able to improve. With also this plan then, if you're saying, okay, we're going to take a quarterback at number 7, to me the QB most likely at number 7 is Will Levis, because there's reports out there that Anthony Richardson could be the number 1 overall pick. Vegas always knows something. His odds continue to go up and up and up. I really think that Will Levis is the best chance to be a number 7. I think if the Raiders want to be able to get Anthony Richardson, CJ Stroud, and Bryce Young, you got to trade all the way up to number 3, which that means that you're giving up multiple first-round picks more than likely to make that deal happen. I do think the other quarterback that would be available is at number 38, Hendon Hooker. But Hendon Hooker also has an injury, and people who don't want Lamar Jackson are like, oh, well, he's got a bad knee. Hendon Hooker and Lamar Jackson are the same age. One guy is an NFL MVP, and yeah, don't get me wrong, Lamar's going to cost a lot more, but Hooker's also got a bad knee coming off an ACL injury. So I don't understand. If this is the Raiders' plan, I'm not going to be thrilled about it whatsoever. So if I'm sitting up here saying I don't like the Jimmy G idea, I'm telling y'all right now, I would rather the Raiders go out and trade for Aaron Rodgers, go out and especially, like to me it's trade for Lamar Jackson's here. Trade for Aaron Rodgers is here. You can't eat my shoes or wear signing Jimmy Garoppolo for $25 million a year. Like, to me, that is the worst move that you could possibly do for this Raiders organization. So my question, and this is the question that I want you all to chew on here a little bit because it's important to think about it. Would you rather give up 2 firsts for Stroud, Richardson, or Young? Because if you're going to trade up to number 3, according to the trade value chart, if you're going to move up to 3, you're probably going to give up a first this year. You're more than likely going to give up a 3rd or a 4th round pick in this year's draft as well, and then a 2024 first round pick. That's what it costs, I think, right now to be able to land one of those top 3 guys. If you're like, that's too much, you're not getting any of them, in my opinion. So then you're like, all right, well, do we just give Lamar Jackson a shit ton of money, and then you give up your first-round pick this year and your first-round pick next year for a player when you know he's healthy, he's an MVP caliber type of dude? It's a tough question. Let me know what you guys are thinking down in the comments on this one because there's a lot of different ways you can go. If you think that you can get CJ Stroud, that's the guy I'm going to go for. If you think that you can get Bryce Young, that's the guy I'm going to go for. I'm not willing to risk 2 first-round picks on Anthony Richardson, who is a real project. You want an upside? Lamar Jackson's a guaranteed upside. If you think you get Stroud or Bryce Young, that's a different conversation. But there is a lot, and I mean a lot to think about around this team, especially on what they're going to do at the quarterback position. But it sounds like they want Jimmy Garoppolo.